Hey guys, this is A May. I hope that you survived the Turkey Day and the NPCs that assuredly surrounded you. Or if you were alone, hopefully, because you can't deal with the NPCs, I can totally understand that too. But I'm kind of glad this ritualistic nonsense is over, that we know very well is not rooted in real history. Mayflower pilgrims, and it's just a day to, in my opinion, to mock the human with the turkey, sacrificial turkey, because the humans are the turkeys. Essentially, it's symbolic of that by the elites. So, in this video, for a second, I want to talk about reincarnation. But here's the thing, and I've thought this for a while now, and I wonder what your take is on it, but there's so much stuff out there, whether it's texts or videos, just in general, a lot about reincarnation. And whenever I see thematic elements, agendas, narratives, what have you, regarding anything about death and reality, I have to question it. You have to question it. Reincarnation, I have thought for quite a while now that it's not exactly what the propaganda machine tells us that it's not. This is not exactly right. So I've always thought, well, why do they say that when you leave this existence, you will go on, or you have in the past, let's say, had past lives, and then when you leave this one, you will have future lives, right? That's the order, right? That's never lined up for me, in that I have always felt like reincarnation is actually more active, simultaneous incarnations. In other words, it's happening now. Time outside of this wheel that we're in, like we're inside the particular wheel. We're inside the wheel that keeps spinning, and we're inside. It's a clock, a calendar clock, the zodiac, and we are projected in here. Project blue beam. In other words, we are projected into this reality. Okay, which feels really real. On a lot of levels, but it's not. It's a virtual reality. Okay, so that aside, reincarnation is a misnomer in that, first off, what is If you read E-R, if you reverse, it's inverted, it's an inversion of the word. It's human, right? It's to err is human, whether you have one R or two R's. And what I'm getting at is, what it implies is it's actually just incarnations that are happening. In other words, if there's no time outside of this clock, this calendar clock, this wheel, this holographic reality, if there's no time, therefore that means if you were to leave this reality, this dimension, you'll enter another one. And who's not to say that it won't be in the past? It's likely going to be another time, and it could very well be in the past. And actually, you can be in that situation simultaneously. Now, I know some people think that you're just tapped into those other spiritual beings that are, in other dimensions right now. You're just tapped into those, having experiences that are different than yours. I totally get that theory. However, I did read, and it just rang true for me. I did read a book that was written by an ex-CIA guy from the 80s. Valerian was his name. I'll see if I can post a picture. And there's sort of a jellyfish that hangs over us that we don't see, that is simultaneous incarnations at once in different aspects, in different dimensions. Okay, which means the past is happening right now. Everything is. It's very hard to fathom this. This goes into quantum theory and such, but it's very hard to fathom this. But other lifetimes are happening now. And if that's the case, and that means if you do really leave this existence, which is only in physical form, because we know that energy doesn't die, consciousness doesn't die, it's just swirling around looking for another home. And it's going to latch on to another home, to another vessel, as it doesn't know any different. The only difference between consciousness and what is going on here is experience. So what I'm getting at is that why is it always assumed that with reincarnation that you will go on, you came from a previous past life and then you will go on to the future? None of that is the case. For sure, if you leave, when you leave this physical vessel that you're in now, you can travel into the past. I've always known this and always been puzzled by the theories that it would, well, I can't say always, let me retract that. I would say the last few years, especially, I'm sure, being from New Orleans, there's a lot of supernatural, paranormal activity. It's just a very strange place. So you can have odd experiences and thoughts and ideas, and it just came to me, and I get these downloads, and I've just known for a while, well, that doesn't make sense. If you realize that you're confined inside of a clock in a contained field, in a dome, in a snow globe, firmament, then who's to say that outside of here there is no time? So and if you were to leave here and still be swirling around in this snow globe, essentially you could absolutely wind up in, leaving this dimension in 1922, 1848. I'm just saying years. I'm just saying that to conclude that lives are successive, or that they are happening in a sequential timeline, is missing the whole picture. And it's inaccurate, in my opinion. It doesn't make sense if you understand time, and that we are in Saturn's realm, Father Kronos' time's realm. If you realize this, and that you are a conscious, spiritual ball of energy, and you know that this isn't it, then why can't people reconsider this reincarnation for what it really is? And it's simultaneous incarnations happening all at once. And I don't know how many times, obviously, I feel like I've been here 1,000 years. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know how many times we have experienced this existence. Do you know what I mean? In other words, this existence you're in now, have you due to slit theory and things, and have you experienced different outcomes, different, you veered off here, you veered off there, in different dimensions, different portals, all in this existence? Yeah, likely. Okay. But you've for sure also been in other vessels, other avatars. It just feels that way, doesn't it? But you will be again if you come back here. If we come back here to this existence, we will be in the past, future, same sort of timeline. God, I hope not. I think a lot of us who have experienced an analog reality, we don't do well in this technological Saturnian based system, this construct here. We we would much rather be without these gadgets, I believe, and the whole state of this place, which has got some weird supernatural elements to it that are negatives, that in many ways, because there's so much suffering here. And so what I'm getting at is reincarnation is, in my opinion, a bit of a agenda-based narrative, which keeps us thinking. In other words, if you were to follow this narrative, okay, if you were to believe in this narrative, then you would only go forward. You've convinced yourself that this is true, and you've been in the past, and there's past life regression. And I'm not saying that the experiences of past life regression aren't true, but if you understand quantum theory and time, you know that it's more likely that it's happening right now. If you were a fighter pilot in World War II, that is happening right now. And it could happen even when you leave this vessel completely. There's so many possibilities. And just what I say is, whenever there is something so abundant, so what's the word that I'm looking for? When we see it everywhere, there's so many books on reincarnation and videos, and when I just feel like we need to examine it closer. There's always elements of truth, but we need to use our insight and perception and say, hang on a second. Why do they want me buying into this? Why do they want me believing this theory? And it is, of course, just a theory. It all is, right? But we can, it's all conjecture, but we can speculate that if we have figured out, if we've gotten so far in the truth research and we have figured out that time is an illusion, this reality is an illusion, then hang on, who's to say if you wind up right back here, and I know a lot of you don't want to, but if you do, that you wouldn't wind up in a past experience, in a past life, when you leave here. I just don't get why it's considered sequential, and regression, I think, is just on the here and now. And I'm going to expand on that later. I didn't want to make this video too long, because as I write things down and say things, I write everything in notebooks. More and more comes to me, more and more revelations, and I get them every day. And they're coming from somewhere. And I could not tell you if it's an AI implement, if it has to do with my flying the elites and being in their presence. I'm not joking. In their frequency, because I've been at 40,000 feet with the ones that essentially own the realm, right? That's pretty weird. And I've been doing it for years. There's something that I don't understand. If it's from living in New Orleans, I am surrounded by above ground cemeteries. And a lot of them are Masonic, and there's Jesuits too, of course. But what I'm saying is, it could be my bloodline, which I was told is a unique frequency. Astrologically, my chart is less than 2% with a diamond pattern. Something has latched onto me and gives me these messages, and it started at a young age. But then I went through a long period where I was not connected to it. And I am again the last few years, I would say the last 3 or 4 years. And that's why I started this channel, just to deliver it to you. And if anything, give you some thought. And I feel like it whatever it is, my higher self, my outer self, my lower self, whatever it is, it wants me to tell you. For sure. So, I am curious your thoughts, if you have any thoughts on that, and if you believe simultaneous incarnations. Like I said, the guy who wrote that book, he was in the 1980s, he wrote that, and he, apparently, it was when he left, after he left the CIA, and it's a compilation of a series of books, and one thing that makes me possibly believe that it rings true is the fact that these books are very rare and they're extremely expensive, and it was hard to get. I think there's about at least 12 of them, of the Matrix series, and this was before the Matrix. And oddly enough, a lot of the quotes and passages are very similar to someone very famous who's become very popular in the truther community, and let's just say his name is David Icke. And I have noticed in this book, was in the early 80s, could be late 70s when this series started, this ex-CIA Russian guy, and sure enough, it's a lot of the exact same, little me, and a lot of the same proverbs or catchphrases that Icke uses. So, which is fine, because there's still some good things that we can get from him. Absolutely. But so if we were, let's say the moon, which is, it's almost full and I can feel it. Let's say we were to go, would we leave here? That's the recycling station. I'm pretty sure that it is. Let's say we go there. I'm real sure it is. Let's say if you were to stay in this contained field, you go there and you come back right back down here. Well, what I'm getting at is that you could wind up back in the past rather than a sequential experience like we are told. Because all the past life regressions theories that you hear about are always in the past. How come you don't hear about a past life regression of Tartaria? Of something, I mean, I'm sure you do, but that would be really in the future. The future is the past. This is where it gets mind-boggling, right? It's mind-blowing, it's mind-boggling. The future is the past is the future. I mean, shoot, we're in upside-down world. And Stranger Things is back, of course, just in time while we are getting deep into the underworld before the final equinox, which is just only about, astrologically, about the sun. And then here goes the, the baby in the manger and the three wise men, which is really just zodiac symbols. And the sun falling into the equinox, doing its last precession. While it goes into the underworld. And that's it. That's exactly what it is. So, and I could do a whole video on that, and I will. And I'm going to stop here. The whole point of this video was for you to think about what we're told as far as reincarnation and what it actually is. Simultaneous incarnations. And let me just add how interesting the word incarnation is. Because it's very similar to incarceration, is it not? So, and then we've also got the three letters, the arc, which we always see in these spiritual Saturnian type terms. Arc, A-R-C, is also in reincarnation and incarnation. And cardinal is in like cardinal signs in astrology. All clues to the zodiac, of course, because there is a zodiac wheel above you made up of waveforms and frequencies. Thanks for listening.